I just killed someone. I don't know how to feel right now. It's unbelievable. Alyssa Bustamante was born on January 28, 1994, to dysfunctional teenage parents. Michelle, her mother, had serious problems with substances, while Caesar, her father, was locked up in jail for assault. So when she was only 8 years old, Alyssa, along with her younger siblings, moved in with her grandparents. But her grandmother, in particular, had a hard time keeping up with Alyssa, who needed the attention and protection typical of a child her age. So in an attempt to calm her spirit nature, her grandmother introduced her to Mormonism. And so Alyssa began going to church every Sunday. Over the years, Alyssa grew up until she left her childhood behind to fully enter adolescence. Now, Alyssa was fascinated by social media, especially Facebook, where she uploaded countless happy, natural, and innocent selfies. Alyssa was a very social and well-accepted teenager, although she was sometimes accused of being too creative and flamboyant. But despite her emo aesthetic and musical taste, nothing kept her from being a typical teenager. But little by little, her character became more and more frantic and extreme, to the point where she seemed like a completely different person. Now Alyssa was dark, mysterious, quiet even. And at 13, she already had the word hate written on her belly. And she inflicted cats and all sorts of self-harm, to the point of trying to take her own life with an overdose of pills. Her grandparents were really worried. They saw that the integrity of their beloved granddaughter was in serious danger, so they decided to seek medical help. So Alyssa went to the professionals, and she was diagnosed with depression and bipolar disorder. At times, the young woman suffered episodes of extreme euphoria and joy, but a few hours later, everything inside her was a deep sadness and desolation. Alyssa was treated with Prozac, a powerful antidepressant. For a few days, the medication worked, but soon after, her behavior returned to the same. Proof of this is a popular video in which Alyssa convinces two of her younger brothers to grab an electrified cattle fence with their hands. A file that Alyssa titled "Idiots Electrocuted by Electric Fence." It ends with the two brothers writhing in pain on the ground, while Alyssa's laughter can be heard in the background. That's how her days went, between bad taste jokes and posts on Facebook. But now her photos had lost all joy, and her texts were devastating. "I like to cut myself and exterminate. I'm not mad, I'm just angry," she wrote. Everything bothered Alyssa. She could no longer handle the frustrations of everyday life. She was angry with her friends, her classmates, her family. Everything bothered her. In addition, she self-harmed more often and bragged about it. Alyssa already seemed out of her mind. Everything about her was anxiety and disorder. It was here that Alyssa decided to push the limit of rebellion, until one of her best friends that what she wanted more than anything in the world was to know what it felt like to take someone's life. Of course, her friend didn't take her confession seriously, as it seemed like total nonsense. But the truth was that Alyssa was dead serious. Thus, she began to devise a plan to carry out, but she did so without fear of the consequences, in a disorganized and unintelligent manner. Alyssa simply wanted to satisfy her curious, homicidal impulse. And to do so, she had to choose a victim. But who? In the neighborhood of St. Martin's, less than a kilometer from her house, lived Elizabeth Alton, a 9-year-old girl with whom her younger half-sister used to play. Elizabeth represented everything Alyssa hated. She was innocent, tender, gentle. She even used to sleep with the light on because she was afraid of the dark. She was the easiest prey in the world. She was the perfect target. Thus, on October 21st, 2009, Alyssa lured Elizabeth in after telling her that she had a gift for her. Evidently, the little girl was completely unaware of Alyssa's bloody plan, so she willingly agreed to meet up with her. She summoned her to a forest where she had previously dug 2 graves, and when she arrived, they began to walk together, until Alyssa managed to sneak up behind Elizabeth. This was the moment. She couldn't let the opportunity slip away. She had to. And so, with all the strength in the world, Alyssa hit the little girl in the head and knocked her to the ground. Then she sat on her, still conscious, and mobilized her limbs and began to strangle her until she finally passed out. Then, from her back pants pocket, she pulled out a sharp pocket knife. She opened it, and without the slightest compassion, slit her throat. Thus, with the floor stained red, Elizabeth died. Then she dragged the little girl's body to one of the two graves, threw it inside, covered it with mud and leaves, and went home. Elizabeth's family, faced with her sudden disappearance, contacted the authorities. They immediately set out to search for the little girl throughout the neighborhood. Initially, though, to no avail. But despite the lack of evidence, Alyssa was a prime suspect. She was part of Elizabeth's inner circle, and her psychotic behavior in the past gave ample reason to distrust her. So the officers opened a police investigation, and they got a warrant to search her home. And inside, they found Elizabeth's belongings and a personal diary in which Alyssa had smudged in blue ink the last thing she had written. Unfortunately for her, a handwriting expert managed to recover the text, and she discovered that what Alyssa had written in it was truly shocking. "I just killed someone. I've strangled them and slit their throats and stabbed them. Now they're lifeless. I don't know how to feel right now. It's unbelievable. As soon as I did it, I had a feeling of I can't do this, which was quite nice. Right now, I'm a little nervous and shaky. I have to go to church now." To this day, it is still unknown why Alyssa referred to two victims in her diary and why she dug two graves. But the leading theory is that she had initially planned to end the lives of her two younger siblings. After the diary was found, Alyssa was immediately arrested, even though she claimed to be completely innocent. But the evidence against her was overwhelming, and it was clear that she was lying. But when the judge determined that Alyssa should be tried as an adult, she pleaded guilty. And she was sentenced to second-degree murder, thus avoiding the death penalty. So Alyssa led the agents to the place where she had buried Elizabeth, and they discovered that they had, in fact, already searched the same area. But they hadn't found anything. And in the words of one of the policemen present there, the body was very well hidden. During the trial, Alyssa behaved in a cold manner, unfeeling, distant, quiet. She only broke her silence to address Elizabeth's parents, to whom she apologized and showed her so-called remorse. "I am extremely sorry for everything. I know that these words may not be enough, and they still don't describe how terribly bad I feel about all of this. If I could give my life to bring your daughter back to you, I would. I am sorry." However, her words were not far from the typical ones used by the accused to gain the sympathy of the judge, and everyone was suspicious of her untruthfulness. Therefore, on November 17, 2009, Alyssa was finally sentenced to life imprisonment. However, Alyssa has the possibility of review and parole at the age of 35. According to some experts, it is very likely to be granted because she was very young when she committed the murder and because of the psychological disorder she suffered. Therefore, it is very likely that Alyssa will walk the streets of Missouri again in 2044. However, some people are very concerned about Alyssa's lack of development in prison. She remains unrepentant. She is well regarded among the most dangerous prisoners, and she refuses to receive any kind of psychological or psychiatric treatment, which raises the question of whether or not by 2044 Alyssa really will be a danger to society. At just 15 years old, Alyssa committed one of the most heinous murders in American history, and one of the most popular, as Alyssa is an internet star. In fact, such is the passion she arouses that even many unstable young people send her letters of love and admiration to jail. Adolescence is the most important period of maturation and growth in our development. It is the intermediate step from childhood to adulthood. In adolescence, puberty arrives. and our body begins to undergo an accelerated transformation. Our voice changes, our size and strength increase greatly, and we undergo major hormonal changes that alter our mood and behavior. This is how, in most cases, adolescent rebellion arises. Teenage rebellion is not something strange or bad. It's completely normal. In fact, adolescence is a key stage in the development of our own identity. This is when we begin to be held accountable for our actions, when social relationships become more and more important, and when we focus more on friends than on family, which can create certain hostilities. Because of all this, adolescence can be very distressing, and we can become very anxious. So in order to release tension, many teens seek to explore new possibilities. This is how, incorrectly, they take refuge in bad habits for their age, such as the consumption of drinks or substances, something totally harmful to our health. But in the case of Alyssa Bustamante, that instinct to seek new experiences went much farther, and she crossed the fine line between rebellion and cruelty. In Missouri, there was a rebellious young woman who killed a girl out of sheer curiosity to find out what it felt like to take someone's life. She was Alyssa Bustamante, the homicidal teenager. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!